Welcome back, everybody, to the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy Sunday, happy NFL game day. Seems insane how far we are into the season already. I know Thursday night football may not be a lot of people's favorite night for Packer games, but I think there is something fun and exciting about the fact that, especially when you come off a win on Thursday night against the Arizona Cardinals, undefeated team, and then you can just kind of kick back and relax and watch the rest of the NFL beat up on each other while you already have a win in your back pocket for the week. I think there's always something a little bit more fun about that. I know I'll certainly be enjoying today's slate of games and just kind of seeing what happens, as I know that the Packers already have a win for the week. So that's always exciting, and I'm very much looking forward to these slate of games today, but that's not going to be my main topic today. I want to take just a moment to talk about Brian Gutekunst, because what an offseason for Gutekunst in so many different ways. And once again, we had an offseason where the fan base was a little bit split. A lot of people soured on Brian Gutekunst very fast. Some people soured on Aaron Rodgers very fast. Now everything seems, for the moment, very peaceful. Everyone's under the same roof. Everyone seems to be getting along fine as far as we can tell. But there was obviously quite the tumultuous offseason, not easy. And there was potentially a quarterback that wanted the general manager out of Green Bay. And there were certainly a lot of fans that wanted Brian Gutekunst out of Green Bay. And I don't even want to get into the stuff of whether or not Rodgers wanted Gutekunst out, and if that's true or if that's not true. Like, who knows, right? But when you hear those things, as a human being, it at least starts, and it's like seeping into you, where it's like, was it true or not? And that can't be an easy thing for Brian Gutekunst, as you're trying to manage a roster, and one of the real difficult, jobs in all of sports is managing a team when there's criticism coming from everywhere, and everyone thinks that they could manage the team better and sign different players and so on and so forth. There's a lot of criticism in that job. It's a very difficult job to begin with. And now you have a offseason full of drama, while, by the way, you're trying to balance a very difficult salary cap situation that Green Bay is currently in to try to continue to win this upcoming season, while also trying to figure out a way to get your quarterback back playing in Green Bay, having to make plane trips out to Aaron Rodgers to discuss things with him and just kind of figure that all out, by also having to go through a draft and undrafted free agency, not having much money to spend in free agency at all, and then trades, and then the season starts and you're trying to upgrade your roster because you've got injuries everywhere. This was from the moment that the Packers lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers up until today, just an insane, crazy period of time for Brian Gutekunst. And let's go over just what he was able to accomplish, because frankly and honestly, I think it's nothing short of astounding what he's done so far this calendar year. It's and even if you want to say calendar year, even going back to signing player, like figuring out unique ways to sign Tramon Williams and Jared Valdir for those games to potentially give you extra depth should you need it in an NFC Championship game. And oh, by the way, they should have needed it, and Tramon Williams probably should have started, but that's a story for another day. But let's go over what happened since then, because we know that the drama unfolded. And listen, as this is all going on, there easily could have been a time where Brian Gutekunst said, yeah, we're out on Rodgers, or go to Mark Murphy and say, this guy needs to be off our team. He's the GM of the team. And maybe Mark Murphy and Russ Ball and Matt LaFleur would have said, no, that's not going to happen. And they would have it would have been overriding him potentially. But, that could have been a situation where it would have been more contentious within the front office of the Packers if Brian Gutekunst said, enough's enough. I'm like, we've got a great offer from San Francisco or Denver. We can get the number 3 pick in the draft. Like, there's so many different ways we can go. I believe in Jordan Love. I'm shipping out Rodgers. And that could have been his prerogative with all the stuff that was going on. Instead, he sort of kept his head down through the entirety of the thing. Not always. There was definitely the press conference after Rodgers where he basically said, yeah, the reason Randall Cobb is here is because of Rodgers, and trying to make him happy and some things like that. So it wasn't like he just sat on his hands entirely. But for the most part, he put his head down. He continued to do business as usual. He swallowed his pride, and as far as we know, did everything he could to get Aaron Rodgers back playing on this team. And by the way, was successful in doing so. There are other franchises that would not have been successful in doing so. They would have bended to the will potentially of the player that was demanding a trade. They potentially would have saw the opportunity to get a bunch of young players and picks and maybe, tried to strike that while you have a quarterback like Jordan Love that you're already trying to develop. There's a variety of ways that this could have gone. But Brian Gutekunst, despite some of the things that were being said about him and potentially wanting him out of the GM seat, said and did everything in his power to still get Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay, knowing that there would probably be a level of awkwardness there and that potentially this was a relationship that would maybe be unmendable. He knew, and as he, for all the things that maybe people have disagreed with adding a Jordan Love when you have a Rodgers and so on and so forth, he has learned a very specific Packers way from Ron Wolf and from Ted Thompson, and it's constantly making the best decision for the Green Bay Packers. That's his mindset. And I can't imagine being in a scenario where I thought potentially that the player, like somebody in question, did not like me at all, to probably put it mildly, and still me doing everything in my power to bring them back to the organization. They don't like me. I still want them here. Like, that is a tough thing just from a pure human level to sort of grasp. And I get the cynic might say, listen, Aaron Rodgers cashes Brian Gutekunst's check. As long as Aaron Rodgers is on the roster, Brian Gutekunst gets to remain as GM because they will always be good with Aaron Rodgers on the roster. And if you're good, you have job security as a GM. I get that. But GMs also have a, desire to build a team in their image. They're brought in. They're one of 32 individuals who get to run a team. And it's really less than that because owners and GMs and have all these, battles as to who's actually making the decisions at times. Brian Gutekunst has autonomy to build this team in his image. And he's drafted Jordan Love, and he could have easily flipped the switch and said, I'm ready to go with Jordan Love, and we're going to get a bunch of draft picks and move forward in that direction. But he didn't. He understood that the best thing for the Green Bay Packers was Aaron Rodgers back in green and gold this season. It was going to give them the best opportunity to win a Super Bowl this year. And he knew that you have to figure things out down the road, but that was going to be the best thing for the Packers. And I don't think that's an easy thing to do. And I think he deserves credit for figuring out a way to not only, again, have the, maturity to have that be the case, to want that, but then to also get the job done, to play a little bit of hardball with Aaron Rodgers and to get him back and to make sure that he was a Packer this season. That could have gone in a million different directions. And Green Bay as a whole, and I think Matt LaFleur probably deserves a ton of credit for this, potentially his teammates. And I don't know how else those conversations went, but Green Bay deserves credit for getting him back in a Packers jersey. And by the looks of things right now, Rodgers seems very happy as a Green Bay Packer with this team, with the organization. If you remember in that opening press conference, Rodgers, there's a point where he was about to say, I love this organization, and then he switched it and didn't say organization. He's been high praise about the organization lately. There's been a switch there. Whether that means he's a Packer next year remains to be seen, but Brian Gutekunst deserves credit for steadying a very unsturdy ship this past offseason, and they now sit as the best team in the NFC, best record in the NFL, and coming off a win over the Arizona Cardinals. He also brought in Randall Cobb at the behest of Aaron Rodgers. Yes, that was Aaron Rodgers signing, but that was his olive branch to Rodgers, right? You want Cobb? I'm going to go out and get Randall Cobb for you, and you can have your best friend on the team to make this happen. Again, did he probably have to do that? Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. He could have probably played a little bit more hardball there as well. Instead, he figured out a way to make the quarterback happy, get his best friend on the team, and in the process, once again made this team better. Now, I'm not going to give Brian Gutekunst credit for the play of Randall Cobb so far because it was very clear that Brian Gutekunst didn't have much interest in Randall Cobb being on this team, if we're being honest. But in an effort to make his quarterback happy and make this team more successful, he once again swallowed his pride, made the trade for Randall Cobb in a deal that he, I think, fairly clearly didn't want to do. And because of that, the quarterback's back, Randall Cobb's in Green Bay, and once again, this team is better. Let's move past the entire Rodgers situation, because that is, while a major piece of this, it's also just a piece of it. We all know about the signing of Devondre Campbell. And again, I can't stress enough to you, Green Bay, after they re-signed their players, which we'll get to in a moment, didn't have money to spend. They had to be super frugal with who they were signing. So they had a couple million to go out and get a player. And to go out and find a Devondre Campbell who has completely changed this defense. And oh, by the way, I hope this is a message to the Packers moving forward that an inside linebacker, it may have been something that you didn't value a ton. It has a ton of value. And you are seeing what a Devondre Campbell brings to a defense. As he has started playing really strong football the past month plus, this defense has started playing really strong football. Z is out. Preston's been out. Jair's been out. There's been some leaks in coverage at times. There's been other things going on. But he has controlled the middle of that defense, and it has changed everything for the Packers. But kudos to this staff for finding a way to get Devondre Campbell. This team has not been able to find a punter for eons. They trade future nothing picks or pick and then get a pick back, and they are able to completely change their punter position, going from J.K. Scott, arguably the most inconsistent punter in football a season ago, to an insanely consistent punter who has every trick in the book at his disposal, from deep bombs to high hang time to angle punts to backspin to pinning people deep in their own 20-yard line. He's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And that's another credit to Brian Gutekunst for figuring out a way to improve that position. And it has helped a ton. Green Bay's not putting up 30-plus points a game this year. Field position matters, and Bajorquez has been phenomenal. Nothing short of phenomenal as a punter. He signed Dennis Kelly. I know that hasn't worked out great so far. However, Ben Fennell and I talked about this all the time. You can't just expect, like, all of a sudden, like, you're going to bring up a guy from your practice squad and he's going to be okay. We've seen too many times where a Jason Spriggs or an Alex Light or a so on and so forth, Kyle Murphy, like those sort of players have to all of a sudden come in because somebody's hurt and you can't block anyone up front. I can promise you, if Dennis Kelly has to play at some point this season, first of all, there's a lot of tackle or injuries that tackle at that point, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen and how Bakhtiari is going to come back and so on and so forth. I guarantee you that if he can get healthy, like, he is still a valuable backup in this league and will provide depth. And if they have to go to him, you're not going to have to change your offense entirely. I love the fact that they are like 8 or 9 deep, if not more. Even Ben Braden sitting on the practice squad. The depth on their offensive line is arguably the best in all of football, and they're prepared regardless of who goes out due to injury. I still like the signing, even if he's been hurt and hasn't had an opportunity to play at all. Then he gets in season Rasul Douglas. I don't even need to go on about that. He signs Jalen Smith. I've been fairly vocal that I'm not a huge fan of that signing, but I can understand the low risk and still potential reward of that sort of signing. And he still provides leadership and depth at the linebacker position. He gets Whitney Merciless. Edge rusher needed bodies. He finds a way to get Whitney Merciless, even though other teams were reportedly offering more money. How about the draft? He finds Eric Stokes in the first round. Where would this team be right now without Eric Stokes at corner? I mean, again, with Jair Alexander injured, with Kevin King injured, if there's no Eric Stokes, I don't even know where you're at right now. Like, maybe Josh Jackson's still on the team, and this is Josh Jackson, who, by the way, is just signed to a practice squad, yesterday. But I don't know where you're at corner if you don't have Eric Stokes. It's a big pick for him. Josh Myers is starting center. I know Amari Rodgers hasn't clicked quite yet, but he has some punt return ability, and I think is still going to be, hopefully long-term, a weapon within this offense. Royce Newman is starting at guard. TJ Slayton's in the defensive line rotation. Isaiah McDuffie is becoming a core special teams player, and Kylan Hill was their kick returner and showed a ton of upside before getting hurt. He found Jack Heflin as an undrafted free agent. He's able to bring back free agents. Dean Lowry, who has played really well these past few weeks and started making impact plays. Kevin King, we can debate there whether that was a smart move or not, and I've been very vocal in the fact that I don't think it was, but the depth that he provides at corner right now, especially with the injuries the way they've been, was certainly important, and I still think Kevin King has a role to play this upcoming season. I was also vocal. I didn't think they should bring Preston back. I can gladly say I was wrong about that. Preston's been fantastic when healthy so far this season and has been a huge impact player for Green Bay, and that looks like a very smart move. They brought back Aaron Jones, very smart move. They brought back Mercedes Lewis, very smart move. And then little things, right? He traded Kadar Hallman for a draft pick, a guaranteed draft pick, not a contingent draft pick, a guaranteed draft pick before the start of the season. The Texans cut him. The Saints signed him. They cut him. He can't find a spot right now on a roster. And he's able to get a draft pick for him before the end of camp. He swaps Josh Jackson for Isaac Adam. You might be like, and Adam, I don't really want Isaac Adam on the... Josh Jackson was a bad corner. Isaac Adam is a bad corner. Josh Jackson was a horrible special teams player, which is why he's not on an active roster right now. Isaac Adam is a good special teams player. So while neither of them are great cover guys, this is your sort of classic number 6 corner on a roster. Yeah, if you have to play him 70 snaps a game as a corner, it's Jared Bush. If you have to play him 70 snaps as a corner, you're going to be in trouble. There's going to be some plays that he gives up. But if you need him for 10, 15 snaps in an emergency, can he get you through some of those? Yeah. Meanwhile, can he play great special teams? Yeah. That's a win. Even though it may not seem like a major trade, getting, basically moving on from a guy who wasn't going to make your team anyway and getting in one of your real core special teams guys in Isaac Adam, that's a win. And oh, by the way, through all of this, he's able to maintain one of the biggest lottery tickets in all of football in Jordan Love. And no matter what happens next year with Rodgers, they have that potential still there in Love. Now, maybe Love gets traded. Maybe Rodgers gets traded. Who knows? That is for the next offseason. But if we learned something this offseason, a lot of the moves that Brian Gutekunst may make this next offseason with Devontae Adams and Zadarius Smith and Aaron Rodgers, I can promise you right now, there will be 2 or 3 moves that are insanely unpopular. There's just no way that Z and Rodgers and Devontae and so on and so forth are all back on this team next year. It's just not going to happen. So there's going to be some rough moves that he's going to have to get through. If he's shown anything this past offseason, he knows how to get through that. He's going to manage it, and he's going to put the Packers in the best possible position to succeed. And if he has to eat crow by trading Jordan Love after drafting him with a first-round pick just 2 seasons prior, I don't have any doubt that he will do that if that's what he thinks is the best for the Packers. And if he has a firm belief that Jordan Love is the future decade-long quarterback of Green Bay, I believe he will make the move that is in the best interest to make that become a reality. Will it work out? No idea. But his moves this past offseason have, and they put Green Bay in a position to make another run at a Super Bowl. That's going to do it for me today. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate you as always. I'll be right back here tomorrow. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.